Welcome back to the Bryan Devore Connection. I'm your host, Bryan Devore. I'm excited about this topic today, yoga for seniors. Yoga is a great exercise and a great tool for people to stay mentally strong and physically strong. It's good for seniors too. So here to talk about yoga for seniors is Jennie MacGoy, and she has her own company that does yoga for seniors. How are you today, Jennie?
I'm doing very well. Very happy to be here.
Me too. Thank you for coming. I was excited to have you come on to talk about this because usually I have professionals who are talking about what they do professionally with seniors, but we want to keep them active. We want to keep them physically well too.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that in just a second, but tell us about yourself and how you got into yoga.
I did not discover yoga until I was in my mid-40s. I'm 53 now. I stumbled into a yoga studio looking for more the calming aspect of it, for the chaos that was in my head, raising 4 children at the time. And I stayed, one, for the calming effect that it had, but then the physical benefits as well. Better balance. I was just more aware where I was in space, things like that. So I was a late bloomer, but I just fell in love with it immediately. It was a very, not really hot yoga, but more of a power yoga practice to start. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm in my 50s, things have calmed down considerably.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that type of practitioner and certainly not that type of teacher.
Got it. Okay. So yoga for seniors. Why seniors? Why did you want to focus on that?
You know, it started, again, my first experience was more of this vigorous yoga, and I thought that's what I would teach because that's what I trained in, because that's what I knew. I opened my own space. This was when we were living in Virginia. The people that were finding me were older or had hip replacements, which is not necessarily always an older person thing. And so I quickly pivoted because they liked coming to me. I think it may be in part because I was older when I started. So there were some creaky things even going on with me back then. They found me, and then when I relocated here, there's a lot of yoga in San Diego, but I found that most of it seemed to be geared for younger, perhaps more bendy people. I thought, that's not me. So I started reaching out to senior communities, and I just love them, whether they're very active and hikers and bikers and all that, or they are cognitively impaired. They can still get some great benefits.
Right, and it's nice too for you though. You get to meet all these different people, and you're traveling to all these different communities. You're not just going to one studio. Mm-hmm. You're all over the county.
I am, and I do love it. I'm a very people type person, so I would much rather be out. People have been very successful, especially during the pandemic, with online studios and videos and all that, which are fabulous for people who don't want to leave home, but I like to get out there.
Right. So let's talk about some of the important differences between yoga for seniors and maybe specifically for them versus regular yoga that the seniors may not do. Okay.
I think I like to demystify yoga a little bit because I do think a lot of people assume that you have to be super flexible. You have to be able to get your foot behind your head. You have to be able to stand on one foot for long periods of time. You have to, for meditation, have to be dressed a certain way, sitting a certain way. There's still, I think, that belief out there, and there are some beautiful lineages of yoga that do practice that way. And people may have seen that and thought, that's not for me. So first, I wanted to let people know that you don't have to be young, you don't have to be bendy, and you don't have to look a certain way, dress a certain way in order to enjoy the benefits. So I'm just very passionate about making sure if you need to sit in a chair for the entire time, that's fine. You don't want to get down on the floor, that's also fine. Do you need some calming in your life? I'm not going to ask you to empty your brain for 30 minutes and think about nothing. We're going to work with what we have. That's one of the beauties, I think, of yoga is how multifaceted it is. It's not just physical. It's not just spiritual. It's not just mental. And depending on my audience, whether that's a group or one-on-one, we talk, what do you need today?
Yeah.
And I customize it depending on what their needs are.
So you're really meeting them where they are.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, what's the point? I don't know. I don't care if you can't touch your toes. I love, not that I wish this on anyone, but I love when someone's had a joint replacement or has osteoporosis or arthritis, because I have customizations that go on for miles and miles, because I want them to be able to benefit from yoga too.
Right.
So I've got props. You'll see I bring them with me. I'm a bag lady, a true bag lady. I bring yoga straps, yoga blocks, yoga blankets, chairs. We use the wall.
Everything.
It's really for anyone, but I really like working with seniors.
Yeah, and it's also a social aspect too, because now they're getting out of their apartments and they're interacting with people in their community. You have to have a sense of humor maybe sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and they're kind of, you know, maybe they're embarrassed at first, but then you seem like the kind of person that gets them very comfortable very quickly. And so by the end of the session, they're just doing what they can do. And obviously there are things that they can't do, but that's okay because they're going to still get a lot of benefits. What are some of the benefits that seniors can expect from yoga?
So many. The first that comes to mind would be fall prevention. A big fear, for sure,
Yeah.
and understandably so. I watched my 88-year-old dad, wobble a little bit. I know he's worried about falling. And there are all kinds of things, whether it's checking out your medication or making sure your home is set up in a certain way. But you may not always be home. So different ways that yoga can help with fall prevention specifically would be we work on core strength. Lots of talk about core strength in every modality.
Yeah.
And you can do that sitting in a chair. You don't have to be able to do crunches on the floor. In fact, I don't think I ever offer people crunches on the floor. So we work on strengthening. We work on mobility. You need to keep, if you're going to be able to have decent balance to prevent a fall, you're going to want to be able to keep those ankles moving, the legs, the hips, it's all connected.
Right.
So that is important. That fear, I think you and I have talked about this before. Studies have shown the more you fear falling, the more likely you are to fall. Mm-hmm. So now I'm not a psychologist, but we can focus on maybe just being a little more present and trying to let some of those thoughts float away for a little while, even just to build a little confidence, not a false confidence, but just to maybe reduce that stress, that fear a little bit. And we can do that through calming breathing practices, through some guided meditation. So many benefits. Even people who are preparing for hip replacements, for example, preparing for knee replacements. I've had many a person say, wow, my recovery went really, really well. And my doctor said it's because I was keeping moving beforehand.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to prevent the joint replacement,
right.
but I could, well, not me, but the movements and things can help make the recovery go a little faster.
Yeah, and movement's so important for seniors. So the physical aspect is big, and then the mental aspect, like you said, the mindfulness, the breathing. Mm-hmm. You've probably seen some changes in people who maybe came in and were not in that right frame of mind, but they came out that way.
I think that's probably one of my most favorite things. At the very end of a private session or a class, we usually have a little rest. It might be 5 breaths. It might be a couple of minutes where they just sit or lie down, depending on their situation, and breathe and take a mini nap. And at the end of that, when I invite them to open their eyes, the sense of peace that they have, for me as a yoga teacher, there's no greater joy than seeing that sense of calm.
For sure. Yes. So Jennie is available to do all kinds of classes at different senior living communities throughout San Diego. Her information is on the screen. You have her website. You have her phone number. If you are listening on your favorite podcast channel, obviously you can't see the information, but it's in the caption. So you can write down the information, give her a call. She'd love to talk to you, conduct a class for you, and really explain all the benefits that yoga has to offer for seniors. Jennie, thank you very much for joining me today.
You're welcome.